got 1 minute after 6, so I'm going to go ahead and call to order our regular session of December 11, 2018. First order of business that we have this evening is the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Councilmember Hayward will lead us in both. If you'll join me in standing, please.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today with bowed heads and humbled hearts, thanking you for the day that you've given us, the life you've bestowed upon us, the blessings and gifts that you've given us. Dear Lord, we come asking you for protection for our police officers, our firefighters, our EMS, our military, those serving here and abroad. We ask that you allow them to come home safely as they do their duties. As we come here today to make decisions for the city, we ask that you give your support, your guidance, and your wisdom, that we do the right things for those that have entrusted us with the responsibility to do so. Heavenly Father, I ask that when we have to leave this place, you guide us safely home so that we can return for the next time. Also, as we end this year, dear Lord, I ask that you allow us to be refreshed and renewed to start 2019 with the bang and do everything that we need to get done. I ask these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the text flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward. All right, our first item this evening is a proclamation recognizing Ms. Coverson for her charity efforts. We're going to move on because she's unable to join us this evening. So we'll go straight to a little fun this evening. Ms. Aslan Anderson has written a book called Meet Pumpkin Dog, and I do believe she's probably the youngest author that I will have the pleasure of meeting. So I'm going to come down that way, and then we're going to give that microphone to her for a shot if you'd like to say anything about what's been done. So I'm going to come on down.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to present you with a signed copy of Meet Pumpkin Dog. I came up with the idea of Pumpkin Dog by drawing a plain pumpkin and decided to put a dog face, dog ears, and a stubby dog tail. I got the idea of Tina from Pumpkin Dog because they are both pumpkin dogs. I thought there should be an enemy, so I came up with the name Bowser. But Daddy came up with a different name, Fire Breath, because Bowser is already in a video game. For everyone that already bought my book, I will always thank them, and I will always thank you, Mayor Carpenter, for letting us give a copy to you and the city of Schertz, and we hope you like it in the books to come.
I know that you said more books to come, and I hope that you always do that. This kind of thing right here, what you see and the way you see it and the way you tell your story, is something everybody in this room and everybody in this world needs. Keep up the good work. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Carpenter and Council, for allowing my daughter to do this. I just wanted to let you know that she is joined in support by her grandfather, my father, Chris Anderson. Also, her second grade teacher, Ms. Jordan, is here, as well as a few other friends and family who's also supporting her tonight. And it was really special to me when she brought that book to me. We brought the original that she created here. It was on 11 pages that she taped together, wrote the entire thing herself. And if you were to compare this to the book that we've published, they're almost identical. So we tried to keep it all her ideas, all her words, because it's very important that she tells her story, and it's just amazing to me as a father. I'm so proud of her, and her mother's proud of her. She attends the Founders Classical Academy of Schertz. So we also hope that this is a testament to the wonderful education that we do provide here in our city as well. So again, thank you all, and it means a lot to us.
And interestingly, while the temptation would be to say, okay, we're good, stop, a couple of small business items to take care of this evening. The next thing that we have this evening is we have a check presentation from the folks at Santikos. So I'm going to come down to the podium and join the police chief and some members of the department and see what they have in store for us.
Mayor and Council, Mr. James, good evening. We're obviously very excited and humbled by this presentation. It means a lot to us to have the new business in our community and being supportive of the community. Lieutenant Kelly Calise has been in charge of this project since the beginning. I'll let her take it from here.
Good evening, Council. Tonight, we'd like to take the opportunity to recognize and thank Santikos Entertainment for reaching out to the police department in order to assist in funding some of our much-needed items and projects. Their generous donation of $27,000 will be used in adding 9 automated external defibrillators, which are these items right here, and 15 WatchGuard body cameras as well. And we do have Andrew Brooks and some of the other Santikos team members with us that would like to say a few words to y'all.
Good deal. Council, Mayor, first off, we just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here. We are humbled and excited to be here. This small gift to the Schertz Police Department is just a small example of the gift John L. Santikos left to the San Antonio Area Foundation and our local community. And just like this gift is going to save and change lives, that gift that he left leaves us with a mission to save and change lives every day. And so we're excited to get that started. This gift that he left, it's not a marketing gimmick. It's an engine for change. And with that engine for change, we're here to provide transformative funding to the local communities. John was awesome. He also left us with a couple of challenges. One of those challenges is that when you come into our theater, we treat you as if you're coming into our home. And his second challenge was you go into a community and you leave it better than what you found it. And so in 2019, we're excited to invite all of you into our home to say sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So thank you.
All right, now that we've doubled the temptation to say, good, let's go, we do have a little bit of business tonight. So next up, we have announcements of upcoming city events. And Mr. Waite, you have the duty this evening?
I do.
Very fine.
First of all, last week we announced that there would be a blood drive tomorrow. That has been canceled, so that won't be here in the morning. If it's your time to donate, however, across the holidays, that is desperately needed, and you can visit any South Texas Blood and Tissue Center donor room, and they'd be happy to take your blood from you. This Friday is a groundbreaking ceremony for a Lure Integrated Pet Specialist at 9 a.m. That's located at 22,525 IH 35 South in Schertz. And then we won't have another meeting until January 8th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Between now and then, on Monday, December 24th and Tuesday, December 25th, city offices will be closed in observance of the Christmas holidays. And on Monday, December 31st and Tuesday, January 1st, 2019, city offices will be closed in observance of the New Year's holiday. That is it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Announcements and recognitions by the acting city manager is next. Sir?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have one. As some of you may have, if you've worked the calendar, have realized, tonight is Dudley Waite's last city council meeting as a full-time employee of the city of Schertz. As I sent out in my email, he's taken a position with STRAC, which does a lot of good work, partners with us in the community, so certainly we'll benefit from his role there. He'll stay on as a part-time EMS person covering shifts, as I said, but just wanted to recognize the fact that tonight is his last night, not having to go to city council, but sort of having to go. But as with other employees like Sandy, he can still attend if he'd like, but just wanted to recognize that after over 17 years.
Thank you, Dudley.
The good news is that the organization that Dudley will be joining serves this area as well. And the continued development and improvement of the skills we see in EMS in our region will continue to save lives, and Dudley will be playing an integral part of that. So thank you, Dudley, truly. All right, next item, announcements and recognitions by the mayor. Just want to, I'll save to the end. We have no one signed up for a hearing of residents this evening. Next item we have on the agenda this evening, we have our consent agenda items. First item, minutes, consideration or action regarding the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 4, 2018. Item 2, Ordinance 18M41 on final reading, an ordinance by the City Council of City of Schertz, Texas, amending the City of Schertz Code of Ordinances and certain other ordinances by amending and establishing fees for certain licenses, permits, and other services provided by the City of Schertz. Item number 3, Resolution 18R148, a resolution by the City of the City Council, a resolution by the City Council of City of Schertz, Texas, accepting the semi-annual reports with respect to the progress of the capital improvements plan and other matters in connection therewith. Item number 4, Resolution 18R150, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz authorizing an amendment to Resolution 18R140 for the purchase of a brush truck for $150,000 to Chestang Ford and additional equipment, maintenance, and repairs up to $110,000 with Siddons Martin Emergency Group for fiscal year 2018-2019. Item number 5, Resolution 18R153, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, appointing and reappointing directors of Reinvestment Zone Number 2, City of Schertz, and related matters in connection therewith. I'm good with that. And that's all that we have on the consent agenda item. Anything that needs to be added or removed from that? If not, is there a motion to approve the items on consent?
So moved. Second.
A motion from Mr. Edwards, a second from Mr. Gutierrez. Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 All right, very good. Have 7 ayes, no nays. The motion carries. Next, we have 2 discussion items this evening. Item number 6 is Resolution 18R151, a resolution by the City Council of City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing the disposition of property collected by the Schertz Historical Preservation Committee, City of Schertz, Texas, and related matters in connection therewith.
Thanks,
Mr.
Mayor.
James?
I'll certainly be brief. If council wants a longer kind of discussion, I'll certainly walk down to the podium. But we discussed this item at the last meeting. The idea is to dispose of the property that the Historic Preservation Committee has been keeping. Some of those is out in the community at businesses on display, and the idea is to turn those over to them so they can continue to display it. Some of the idea would be to turn it over to the Historic Society that they may use and display. And then the items that are suitable for display or could be displayed, the city will hang on to. We'll keep those, and we'll try to incorporate those, maybe rotate them through some of our public spaces. And so really, the only thing we'd be getting rid of are those things probably that don't have particular connections to Schertz, but are illustrative of the area. And even those, we'll see if folks want them as we declare them surplus.
Very good. Council, any questions for staff on this one? Not, is there a motion to approve Resolution 18R151?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Edwards, a second for Mr. Gutierrez. Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. The motion carries. Spurs aren't on tonight, are they? Everybody's moving quickly. All right, item number 7, Resolution 18R152, a resolution by the City Council of City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing the Schertz Main Street Local Flavor Economic Development Program and other matters in connection therewith. Mr. James?
Thank you. Again, as folks know, we've talked about this one for a while, and it's just taken us a while to pull together. The idea to revitalize the Main Street area, we have a couple of programs that we work with. One is the building permit fee waiver program. The other is the Historic Main Street grant that for historic structures, those over 50 years, runs through the Historic Preservation Committee. But the idea is we wanted to sort of expand our toolbox so that some of those businesses who weren't able to take advantage of those could use it, or perhaps it allows us to up the incentive to get folks in a little bit and bring about redevelopment. So again, what we're asking is for the creation of the program tonight. We would come back in with a budget amendment, the next quarterly budget amendment, probably allocate $50,000, $60,000 from the contingency fund for this, see how that kind of goes going forward. And then over time, we'd maybe modify it to set caps on how much someone can get, but certainly we've got the ability with approval to not do that, so that's not a concern now. But essentially what we would have is a signage improvement grant. Some of the other cities in the area have that. Would be a matching grant up to $5,000. We've got a facade improvement grant, essentially for the outside face of the building. A site improvement grant, which are typically those kind of flat work or things that aren't the building but affect the site and make it look more usable. And then a capital equipment grant for somebody who's kind of going in forward. So we've set those amounts at $5,000, $20,000, and $2,500 going forward. So the idea is to get council to buy off on this. Staff will work through some of the additional kind of procedures and forms and things like that. And we hope to kind of make a big splash with this in early January and then fund it in short order.
Mr. Edwards?
So basically, that's $50,000 that someone can get to improve their property.
In theory, it could be. I doubt we would give that much to one person. What we typically see on the projects, while the cost may go up to that, I think the idea is we would likely maybe not fund that much, but fund a lesser amount to start out, see how it goes. But if we find we need to kind of do more, we can. But the idea is to not turn somebody away with nothing rather than to try to up the amount as much.
I think it's a great investment.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? A motion to approve Resolution 18R152?
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards, a second from Dr. Scaglioli. Other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. The motion carries. All right, next item we have on the agenda is a roll call vote confirmation. Mrs. Dennis?
Consent agenda items 1 through 5. A motion was made by Councilmember Edwards, seconded by Councilmember Gutierrez. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola, Councilmembers Davis, Gutierrez, Larson, Edwards, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 6, resolution number 18R151. Motion was made by Councilmember Edwards, seconded by Councilmember Gutierrez. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola, Councilmembers Davis, Gutierrez, Larson, Edwards, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 7, resolution number 18R152. Motion was made by Councilmember Edwards, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola, Councilmembers Davis, Gutierrez, Larson, Edwards, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, we have a couple of workshops. First one is the Schertz Economic Development Corporation Annual Report. Kyle, good evening.
Good evening, Council. I'm excited to be here as have the opportunity once a year to come before the council and to talk about some of the exciting things that the Economic Development Corporation has done over the previous fiscal year. So this report and information that we are sharing covers the last fiscal year, which was October 1, 2017 through September 30th, 2018, while now Councilman Brown served as our board president, which he has done for many years, and the board recognize his service, and I'm very grateful for all the work that he's done. Wanted to make sure and mention that at the beginning of the presentation. I have some reports that I will give to the council as I'm finished, that you'll be able to go through and have more detail. The information about what the Economic Development Corporation has done over the last year. This information is also posted as part of a blog post that went out on the EDC's website that we use in our efforts, so it's available to everybody that they will have this information. Lastly, one of the things that I also wanted to pass out in connection with our business retention program, we have our Schertz investment pins that we wanted to give to the council, and also those new on the council that have not had one of the pins before as a way to understand our commitment that we have in our overall program to not only attracting new businesses to the area, but also working to retain those that we have and seeing greater investment in our community. So one of the things that I want to start off first is really help everybody understand what it is that the Economic Development Corporation does. Now, we are a separate entity with a very specific mission of growing the Schertz economy through projects. And these projects are defined by state law that we are able to use the revenues that we have to promote economic development in the city of Schertz. The board focuses on two of those key programs, and they are bringing in primary jobs or bringing in companies that create jobs, and those companies export a product outside of our region, helping to create new local money that drives demand for new residential and new commercial retail development. We also focus on infrastructure improvements that benefit multiple businesses, and you'll see that as we go through. So one of the first things in connection with the report this year, this is our 20th year. So the corporation came into existence on February 3rd, 1998. Over the 20 years, the Economic Development Corporation, we've become very close partners with the city. A lot of people assume that we are the city, but we are a separate entity. Throughout that time, we have partnered, and now in our 20th year, we've been able to transition in that majority of economic development incentive programs that we've used have transferred from the Economic Development Corporation, or have transferred from the city to the Economic Development Corporation, and that's allowing us to do things like the Main Street Local Flavor Program and other tools that we would like to do that add other opportunity that we know the community wants, but we haven't been able to fund under the Economic Development Corporation. And so, now we are in a position where majority of, so the incentives that we bring forward, they are being funded through the Economic Development Corporation, not through the city. Within the Economic Development Corporation, we have two major components. We have a recruitment and also a retention component. Recruitment, so this is where we go out and we actively seek businesses, those primary job creating companies, to come into our community. Over the last year, we completed 15 recruitment events, which is a very aggressive schedule. We leveraged partnerships with Team Texas and Go Big in Texas, which is the governor's office. We also leveraged another group called Site Location Partnerships, and each of those recruitment events, we're able to identify new leads that we use to go out and find companies that are interested in locating in our community. In addition, in our recruitment efforts, we do a lot of online activity that is used in placing ads, getting in getting in front of decision makers that need to learn about the opportunities that are available in our community. As far as the retention efforts, as mentioned previously, this is something that is very important to the long-term success of our community. And through the efforts of Jennifer Colby, our business retention manager, our relationship with our existing businesses, we are at a place that we have not been for several years. As companies experience trouble, they know who to reach out to, and we're able to solve problems. They're able to rely and have a contact as they're wanting to grow and as they're wanting to expand. Of the roughly 600,000 square feet of commercial space, of industrial space that we had expansions last year, we had 2 significant local expansions within that helps us to see that our existing companies are reinvesting and recommitting to our community, which is very important for our long-term economic growth of the city. Through our business retention program, we do focus on some of the challenges that our communities face. Though not a local issue, but the number one issue facing our businesses is workforce. And so through our business retention manager, we've engaged into new efforts that we haven't done before. We now have a job board that we're able to promote some of those positions that are a little bit more challenging to fill within our community. We have also partnered and did 2 job fairs that were very successful in finding new employees for our companies. And then the last piece is, and most important, our businesses through the roundtables, they told us that the number one thing that they wanted was to partner with our local school district. A lot of times we would assume that connection's already there and already in place. And so through this program, we've been able to connect our local school district with our businesses, and they truly are, developing long-term partnerships so that our school district is now changing their curriculum so that they are teaching the skills that our businesses need today. So this is very powerful stuff that they are doing. Lastly, and most important, the economic development, as mentioned, our focus is to do projects. And as you can see here, in the conclusion of this fiscal year, we had 13 active projects. 4 of them are new from this last year. All of the 4 new projects were all focused on infrastructure. These are projects that impact both small businesses and large businesses. And more importantly, through these projects, we're able to have development-ready sites for small users and large users. And so in those 4 projects, we improve roughly over 230 acres that now is primed for development. So it ensures that Schertz is ready as the market continues to grow. We make it easy to invest here in Schertz. And so with that, I'm going to pass out the annual report so that each of you will have a copy and a pen, and then if there are any comments or questions that you have, happy to answer them.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Council, any questions that you have for Mr. Kennetetter? If not, any comments that you'd like to share this evening? Mr. Edwards.
Kyle, I want to thank you guys for what you've done. Tim, for your leadership that you had on that, on the Economic Development Corporation as well, for chairing that committee. Kyle, going forward, I know you can't discuss anything, but do you have a strategic plan that you're going to be putting out to us as well that we can take a look at going forward?
So the question was, do we have a strategic plan that we are working on and rolling out? So one of the things that the corporation approved as part of their budget was to allocate time and resources for the strategic planning of the Economic Development Reserve. So currently, We have over $17 million in reserves for the Economic Development Corporation. Now, we have almost $5 million of allocated funding for projects that are there. It's very important to the corporation to make sure that they have funding for the future projects that are coming along, but also the corporation really feels as though they're in a position to do something, significant that they haven't done in the past, and that will come through these strategic planning exercise that they are doing. And so, specifically, what they have done is they've set aside time at every single meeting where they will go through a planning exercise with the idea that will put together a plan that they will then bring back to the council for buy-in. Because, as you know, it's council's role and responsibility really to do two things: to assign and put board members in their place, in their positions, and then also to authorize the program and expenditures. So, in their positions on the board is what I meant.
Thank you.
If I may,
Mr.
very quickly,
Scagliola.
I've been very, very, very lucky and very proud to have served on that board. I've been through 5 different economic development staffs, and I got to say, by far, the staff that's on board right now is going to do this city the best good for the longest term. They're creative, they're fiscally conservative, and they're highlighting the issues and working with the community, like Kyle was saying, the education. Our workforce is one of those challenges across the board that we have. We're lucky that we need a workforce, but the challenge is finding the quality and the quantity available. And I know I was talking with Chief Hansen earlier, everybody's got that same issue. So, but Kyle and his staff are doing a great job, and we're proud to have you.
Very good. Mrs. Hayward? You had something? Dr. Scagliola? Good. Mr. Gutierrez?
Yeah, Kyle, our community benefits through our economic success. Please pass along our gratitude to the committees and your staff. Thank you for a great job done.
Thank you. Will do.
A long time ago when I was sitting down in place 5, seems like a really long time ago, Tony Willenchick sat to my right, and Tony railed against us giving long-term 100% tax abatements. But we did that a little bit 13 years ago, and we did so to kind of prime the pump, if you will, to get some more started over on the other side of Interstate 35. And over the last 13 years, not only have we learned from what we did during that time, not only have we managed to take all of the things that we were using economic development dollars for here in the city that really didn't drive economic development activity, but we've gotten to a place now where we don't do 100% abatements anymore. We don't do them for a full 10 years. We have gotten ourselves in a position where we are competitive, where our team has the tools that they need and the funds that they need to do their job and do it well, and we're winning. We're winning consistently. I've been spending a good bit of time in San Antonio and Bexar County because of my day job. I get to go to a number of events at chambers in the San Antonio area, and everybody there knows Schertz. And a lot of it has come from what's been done by our Economic Development Department and our Economic Development Corporation. So I will echo again and say thank you. Please continue and let this council know if you have something that comes up that you need to make you just as successful today, if not more in the future. All right, thank you, sir. I very much appreciate it. All right, next workshop that we have is Schertz-Seguin Local Government Corporation. We have a discussion update regarding the Schertz-Seguin Local Government Corporation parallel pipeline. And Mr. Waite and Ms. Beard.
Mayor and members of council, I sent y'all an email a couple of weeks ago in the November SSLGC board meeting. The board of directors for the Schertz Local Government Corporation took the interim title off Miss Beard's title, and she is our new general manager of SSLGC. And with this being my last official meeting, we wanted to give a quick update, a little bit of a history and a quick update on where SSLGC is, and just happen to mention a couple of things y'all may see coming forward in the new year, just so that when it does come forward, it won't be the first time you've heard about it. And if you have any questions off that, you'd be free to reach out to me or Amber, either after the meeting or maybe in the coming weeks. So,
Okay, so we'll start off with the project history. The Schertz Local Government Corporation was formed in 1998 as a partnership between the City of Schertz and the City of Seguin to meet future water needs. And SSLG projects have been included in all the regional and state water plans since the current planning process began back in 1997. Project organization, SSLGC is governed by a board of directors, 5 members appointed by each city council. A list of our current board of directors is shown. They're staggered 5-year terms with majority control shifting each year between the owner cities. And you can see we have 1 ex officio member from each city council, and that's Mayor Don Kyle from Seguin and Mayor Pro Tem David Scagliola. And the City of Seguin and the City of Schertz, along with SSLGC, have management service agreements in place. Here is a project map. This was the original project, showing, if you look on the lower right-hand side, you can see, oh, there's the mouse. Thanks, Dudley. So this is the well-filled area, our current well-filled. We have 12 wells. The green line is a pipeline from the Saws well field. We also have an agreement with Saws to treat and transport around 1,000 acre-feet per month from Saws to deliver to their area over in Schertz where they take water from. The red line is the original 36-inch pipeline. You can see our surge tank location. We also have a 42-inch supply line and our booster pump station. Here you can see it goes into the Seguin area for distribution and then over to Schertz for delivery to the City of Schertz and to Saws. This is just another rundown of what I just talked about, the well field with the 12 wells, 2 water treatment plants, storage facilities, high service pump stations, and the surge tank, booster pump station and storage facilities. And then our total pipeline is 43 miles. Oh, let me go back. This is important. We have water rights that are secured by owned and leased properties. So without those water rights, we can't get the water. And this is a list of our wholesale customers. So it began back in 2002 to Seguin, and back in 2003 to the City of Schertz, the actual water delivery. You can see we deliver water to Selma, Universal City we have a contract with, and Springs Hill Water Supply Corporation. And then we have 2 different contracts with Saws, one to treat and transport their well-filled water, which is the T1 water, the 11,688 acre-feet per year, and the Saws T2 water is a smaller contract. That's just excess water that we deliver to San Antonio. And this is a map showing water projections. So the red and green lines are the SSLGC projections that our engineer puts together based on populations and population growth and future projections. And then we also compare those numbers with the Texas Water Development Board projections. So you can see from 2020 to 2025, there is an area where the water supply does not meet the projections. So we are actively working on some expansion projects, and that will move us into our next slide.
Yeah, this is, when you first look at this slide, especially as members of City Council, this slide looks very frightening. And this is a worst-case scenario put together by the engineers. So drought, growth at the absolute peak. The city thinks our growth is going to be other factors like that says what is the water supply. If you look in the early 2020s, where we're coming out of the 2010s into the 2020s, we're not quite that high on the chart. So our growth isn't quite as aggressive as this chart took into effect. However, that being said, there is a critical need for additional water for the city of Schertz. When this was here in 2003, if anybody attended that, when we blew the water in the air over here and had the fireworks and did all that stuff, one of the things that we said all the time was this is a 50-year water supply. And our share of the 50-year water supply has lasted us about 18 to 20 years. And a lot of that was we didn't anticipate some of the growth we were going to get. And we also didn't anticipate a development that Amber's spoken to a couple of times already that would help keep the cost of our water supply lower, which is that we transport 12,000 acre feet a year to the city of San Antonio through our pipeline. And so both of those together, the fact that we've grown a little bit quicker than what they thought when they put this plan together 25, 30 years ago, or 20, 25 years ago, and the fact that we've been able to sign an agreement with SAWS to basically take half to two-thirds of our pipeline capacity, and what they pay us to do that has kept the water costs for our citizens lower than it would have been otherwise. So you see this little gap here, and folks get a little bit nervous about that, but council's taken action 2 years ago in 2016 to help fill that in by authorizing SSLGC to get funding to start on the next well field, which is the Guadalupe well field that we'll talk about here in just a second. I don't know how much of this I just walked right over. I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
So the funding's coming through the SWIFT program, which is the State Water Development Board funding program. It gets us a little bit lower interest rate. It also, on projects like the well field, delays some portion of the repayment so that we're actually producing water and selling water before we have to make the full debt payment on the well field side. And it's being split between two projects, the parallel pipeline, which will come from the booster pump station just outside of Seguin over to here. And we're already in the acquisition of easements on that. We'll talk about that here in just a second. And then the Guadalupe well project, which has been being worked on for 5 to 7 years, so that we've got water rights already established, so we have enough land to be able to produce 5,000 acre feet. And then we've got land in SSLGC has land in their possession to build the water plant for the Guadalupe project and to drill the wells for the Guadalupe project. All of that is in the design phase. The pipeline's being designed first because of its redundancy capacity. So right now we have one 36-inch pipeline that's taken 12,000 acre feet to San Antonio and between 5,000 and 6,000 acre feet a year to us. If that thing were to have a catastrophic failure, we talked about our Edwards leases that could get us by for 2 to 3 months. The other nice caveat for the city of Schertz is not only has us and Seguin saved money by being able to keep our water rates lower, but we have a bit of a redundancy in that if we were to blow our pipeline out of the ground, if there was a catastrophic failure and it was going to take months to repair, we have the capacity with the pipeline that takes the water from here, right out here behind us where that ground storage tank is, from there to SAWS, we have the ability to reverse the flow on that pipeline. And so even though we have 1,000 feet of Edwards water, and that would last us, or 1,000 acre feet of Edwards water rights, or 1,800, I guess, we anticipate that would last us 2 to 3 months potentially. If we got into a bind, we can reverse that flow and bring water to us from SAWS and purchase our water from SAWS in an emergency. That's been tested. That works well. Another nice benefit of transporting their water for them. You see the timeline for the two big projects that we were able to get signed in 2016. The design phase is underway. We anticipate that completing on the pipeline pretty soon. We anticipate the easement acquisition to be done on the pipeline fairly soon. Start construction on that in 2022. Start the well field shortly thereafter, and by 2022 or 2023 be bringing water from the Guadalupe well field site here, as well as the water from our current Gonzales well field site. We've spoken about water rights, and it's important for council to understand that the way we can get water out of the ground in other areas is by owning the land, enough land to be able to produce the amount of water that we need, either owning or leasing. And so up there on the map, the areas that you see in green, and Amber will correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the county line. This is Guadalupe County, and this is Gonzales County, and then this is, what's that? Anyway, Wilson County, thank you. That's for a different corporation that Amber also manages. You'll get briefed on that later. But the green is land that SSLGC owns, and then the brown or the peach is land that is leased. It's acreage that is leased so that we can produce the amount of water we need. So it's 12,000 plus acres in Gonzales County, and what is off the top of your head? Around 5,000, maybe a little bit more here in Guadalupe County. Where you see the red, of course, this is where our wells are and the water plant's here, and this is the location of where the water plant will be in the Guadalupe project, so that that water will flow into the pipeline and on up to us. It's important. One of the things we've always done is leased land. So CVLGC, our other water corporation, is just wrapping up leasing enough land to be able to move their project forward, a project that we will need in the 2030s. One of the other things SSLGC did was purchase land occasionally, but there's another option in there, and that would be the purchase of water rights. We've never really entertained the purchase of water rights in the past. However, there's been some discussion with some landowners to see if SSLGC would be interested in that. Interesting thing about purchasing water rights then is that we would own those rights. We would no longer lease them. And the decision to be made is the purchase price of the water rights such that if we leased it for the same amount of time it would take us to finance the debt for that, would we be better off at the end of that? If we purchase that and we spend 30 years on debt repaying that, and no matter what, we're better off at the end of that 30 years because then we don't have a lease payment on that land anymore. We own the water rights, we produce the water, we don't have to pay anybody for it. You may see some discussion about that coming forward. There's some preliminary talks starting to happen from some landowners saying, hey, this may be something we're interested in doing. And so that Amber may be back here in a few months to talk to you about some different options on that. The other one is the secondary pipeline. And on this one, which is which, Amber? Versus, I guess red is the current.
Yeah, red's the current, the green, blue line is going to be the pipeline. We parallel it most of the way. Areas where it is years away from the original pipeline or areas
And because we're in a partnership, SSLGC is not a governmental entity. It does not have the right to condemnation or to be able to acquire easements through eminent domain. But both cities do, and so the corporation relies upon the cities. This is a joint project with our partner city, Seguin, and so when we entered into this project, Seguin was assigned the first half of the pipeline, so that if we needed to go to court to get rights just to access the land to survey to make sure we could put a pipeline where we wanted to put it, or if we needed to get those easements through eminent domain, that Seguin would do it on the first half, coming out of the booster pump station, running across I-10 and up here to just outside of Marion, and then the city of Schertz, is our responsibility, picks up outside of Marion, and then brings it all the way into our water plant station. Our land agent that Amber has hired and has been working with has done an amazing job in getting easements signed from landowners. A lot of these landowners know us. They like us. We take good care of us, SSLGC, because we take good care of our easements. And they're fine with it. It's farmland or whatever. They're fine with another easement coming through. There are a few landowners who were not fine with it the first time the pipeline came through, and 15 years later still are not that fine with it. And so it's anticipated to wrap up the easement acquisition so that the pipeline design can be finalized and the project can stay on its timeline. That shortly after the first of the year, Amber will be back before you seeking your permission to condemn some easements. It's important to realize we're not taking people's land. We're merely taking an easement across the land. If it is farmland or whatever, then continue to farm that. It's just if we needed to get in there to repair our pipeline, they can't put any permanent structures over the top. We're not actually taking a land. We're just taking use of that land in that 30-foot wide segment. Being a little smarter about it this time than we were the first time we came through. First time we came through, the easement was listed as a pipeline, and the construction put the pipeline square in the middle of the 30-foot easement, so there is no room in the original 30-foot easement to put a second pipeline. This pipeline, the easement language we're dealing with now says pipelines. And the line will be constructed in 1/3 of the easement, leaving the second 2/3 for a third line if that were to become necessary into the future. So again, it's planning for the future, long after most of us are gone in the 2040s and 50s. If there's another need to transport water up here via another pipeline, there'll be room in those easements, and we won't have to go back to landowners up there. Any questions on any of this update?
Council. Anybody? Mr. Edwards?
Would you go back to slide number 4, and just for the audience? First, Dudley, when you describe an acre foot of water, so can you describe what an acre foot of water is for the people that may or may not know?
I believe, I'm trying to remember the number off the top of my head. I believe it's 35862, and that's the amount of gallons that are in an acre foot.
All right, so
And the layman's word for that is the amount of water it would take to put water on top of 1 acre of land 1 foot deep.
So on this slide that we're looking at, how many miles are you looking at on the pipeline? How many miles are you looking at linear here? Going straight just from our well fields, how many miles are we talking that we're pumping water in?
It's around 42 total.
42 total.
43 miles of pipeline. And the new pipeline is around 18 miles.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? I think we're good. Thank you very much.
One of the things I'd like to say is after the start of the year, when once the weather looks a little bit decent, Amber will be scheduling some tours of the SSLGC facility. We struggled after the last election to get that done in a timely manner, so she's going to be working with that. I will tell you, it is worth a day for anybody on council, any staff, any citizen that wants to go. It's worth a day to go down there and see how this process works. It's one of the most amazing things I think this city does. And in my tenure here, I've had the opportunity to be a part of a lot of really amazing things the city has done. But to see what goes on down there, how the water's produced, how it's filtered and treated and shipped to both Seguin and us every day, where nobody in our community has a concern when they turn that valve that something's going to come out of that spigot. So it is worth it. It takes almost a full day to do it, just because of the distances involved, but it's well worth the time.
Very good. Thank you both. I appreciate it. All right. The next workshop we have here is Council Committee and Liaison Assignments. Mrs. Dennis?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been traditional that after election that the council do the annual review of the various committees and commissions that y'all are liaisons to. And mainly, the main purpose is to fill the vacancies that have occurred due to the election that was recently done. I provided information in your packet, on what each of the boards do when they meet. We do have vacancies. We do have vacancies on the Animal Advisory Services Commission, the Audit Committee, the Interview Committee for the Boards, Commissions, Committees, the SSLGC Local Government Corporation, and the TERS 2 Board. As you can see, these were previously held by our previous council. So it's time for you guys to think about, if you want to, you can consider reassignments if you want. Or what the purpose of this is to definitely fill these vacancies, and this information is in your packet.
All right. Well, I'm going to just kind of go council member to council member and see what the interest levels are, and I'm going to do this via tenure. So, Mr. Edwards?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to stay exactly where I am. Interview Committee, Cibolo Valley Local Government Corporation, and Main Street Committee.
Very fine. Dr. Scagliola? Obviously, I think we'll take the name alternate off of Schertz Seguin Local Government Corporation if you're good with it.
So move.
And nothing else? All right. Mr. Davis?
I'd like to stay where I'm at, and I'd be interested in the TERS if it's available. Nobody else wants it.
Very good. Mr. Gutierrez?
I would like to stay where I'm at and maybe consider the Interview Committee.
Okay. Mr. Larson?
I'd like to stay part of the Main Street Committee, but I just, with two businesses, a little one, and my alternate work at the AMPO, I just can't do the Investment Advisory Committee. I wasn't able to make a meeting that they had, and so we need somebody who maybe can get away from work for those.
All right, very good. Mrs. Hayward?
I am interested in the audit, the TERS board,
Okay.
the audit committee, and I guess the investment advisory committee board.
All right, Mr. Brown?
The SSLGC, of course, is very interested in that, and anywhere you need me, sir.
All right. As I go back through. All right, so Mr. Edwards, no changes. Dr. Scagliola will take alternate off Schertz Local Government Corporation and let him be our primary ex officio there. Mr. Davis, I believe you said what you have currently. However, you said you were interested in which one? TERS?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did anybody else say the TERS?
Hayward did.
Nobody wants to be on the TERS. All right. Mr. Davis, it's all yours, sir. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayward
Hayward.
did.
Okay.
I apologize.
All right.
Y'all decide.
Who do we have serving right now on the TERS? I think we had it earlier here.
We had Crawford.
We have Mr. Dalla, Mr. Bishwal, Mr. Kansu, and Mr. Price. So we have a need for one
Yes.
at this time.
Yes.
Mr. Davis can have it. I'm fine with that.
Okay. And Mr. Gutierrez, you said you'd like to serve on the interview committee, and I think someone else did as well. But how many folks do we have that serve on the interview committee from this body? Is it 4? 4.
There was 4. We lost one, which
Right.
was, so we need to add one. Which, if it, yeah.
Five? A
No,
quorum?
There's 4. There's only 4.
Only 4. Okay. Got it, because Dr. Scagliola
Scagliola
is
is an
serving as an
alternate.
alternate for that.
That's correct.
Okay.
I apologize. Yes, sir.
All right. And Ms. Hayward, what are we, Investment Advisory Committee, Mrs. Hayward, I think you said?
The audit committee or the animal services, wherever.
Investment Advisory. I tell you what, if you'll do animal services, that'd be fantastic. And then Mr. Gutierrez adding the interview committee, Mr. Larson remaining as the vice chair of the Main Street Committee, Mr. Brown serving as our alternate on SSLGC. What do we have remaining?
He was on the okay, we got Davis on the investment committee. No, I'm sorry. This is on the TERS. And because, do we have a replacement for Councilmember Larson who we need
Yes.
investment?
Councilmember Hayward.
Hayward, okay. We need somebody on the audit.
Mr. Brown, you want to do that as well? Okay, that sounds good. I think that accounts for everything.
That does, sir.
All right.
You want me to read this back?
Put it in the minutes.
Oh, gotcha. Need that. Absolutely.
Council, we all right with all of those, at least to begin? Okay. As we go forward, I think we should have some discussion about the various committees that the council serves on, whether or not they're properly structured, whether or not there's something new that we should have as we move forward. You know, Mr. Edwards and I have talked for years about youth sports and whether or not there needs to be some kind of ongoing or beginning discussion about what that future looks like. There just may be other things the council wants to do. and maybe some things that the council either wants to back off of or change. But we'll take that up after the new year.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. All right, rather than go to the announcements and such, we do have a need for a closed session this evening. City Council will meet in closed session under Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, and in this particular case in regard to Project E-048. We're going to temporarily recess our open session. We're going to go to closed session, come out just as quickly as we can. That we are at about 7:37, and we're back in open session. Next item that we have on the agenda is item 9A with regard to Project E-048. I believe there is a action to take. Resolution 18R154, resolution by the City Council of City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a program and expenditures as provided for in the Economic Development Performance Agreements between the City of Schertz Economic Development Corporation, or the SEDC, and Navistar Incorporated, the company, and other matters in connection therewith. I move from the chair that we approve Resolution 18R154.
Second.
I have a motion from the chair to approve 18R54 and a second from Mr. Edwards. Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 7 ayes, no nays, the motion carries. The next item that we have on the agenda this evening is going back to our regular requests and announcements. And first, we have announcements by the acting city manager. Mr. James, anything else this evening?
Just a couple of things real quick. One is, I always forget this, but as a reminder to folks who may be watching, there are two information items that were included in the packet. One is sort of an overview presentation of the Schertz Area Senior Center. Ms. Schrum and Kathy Flocky with the Y are over at the Cibolo City Council briefing them on that. The other is there's an overview of a small business grant that the Economic Development Corporation approved. Those don't have to come to council for approval, but wanted to make you aware of it. The last thing is, again, with the hiring of the new city manager, I get to move back to my regular seat the next meeting, which I'm greatly looking forward to. But I will say I've enjoyed the opportunity. I appreciate council's faith in me and your patience. I've appreciated the patience and understanding of the citizens, and most importantly, I appreciate the patience and support and help of all of the city staff during these 9 months. So,
Very well. Thank you, sir. Next, request by the mayor and council members, items we placed on a future city council agenda. Do we have anything we need that's not already planned? Mr. Gutierrez?
Just one item. Is it possible to include the video that they showed on the school state of the district? It's a 2-minute video. I think it would be interesting for our residents to see. They're always concerned about taxes and how the school taxes were manipulated by the state. I think it would be a great video to provide for residents.
Mr. James, do you have a thought?
let me maybe mull that over. I certainly understand we want our residents to be informed. Let me mull that over if you don't mind, and then let's chat at next meeting and maybe what the best solution would be. Okay.
Anyone else? If not, then we'll move to announcements with the mayor and council members, and we'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola.
It's been a fairly busy week. Last Friday, I think it was, or Saturday, went out and judged the Willow Grove house lighting contest. Was really nice being out there. It was a little chilly, but they had some really nice arrangements out there. Went to 2 ribbon cuttings, both of them dentists, both of them in Cibolo. In the Cibolo Parade. Had a wonderful opportunity to ride with the Sweethearts on their float. Special thanks to Mary, Sam, and Joe, and also our Sweethearts. And by the way, our float took first place over in Cibolo. That's all I have, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Gutierrez?
Yeah, a couple of things. I also had the opportunity to judge Willow Grove, the lighting. That was a great opportunity. I also attended the parade. I had my own car as a float, so that was interesting. And the other thing is that I attended the state of our school district briefing that they provided on Thursday. That's all.
Good. Mr. Larson?
Nothing.
Mr. Edwards.
Miss Gail Cave, I don't know who won the judging, but I went out Wednesday night before I left town, and I can tell you some of the entrants that were there, some people didn't enter, and they had beautiful decorations up. So maybe this is something that's going to be catching on for the rest of the city. And she has no idea that I'm going to do this, but Miss Gail Cave, I think that she should probably be on a city decorating committee for our light challenge that we may have coming in the near future. Maybe having different communities light up just like Windcrest did at one time. And they're still doing it, I think, in Windcrest, aren't they? Yeah, but that's a big event in Windcrest. So maybe Miss Gail Cave can actually start that committee here for the city. No pressure, Miss Cave.
Mrs. Hayward?
It was a busy week. I went to the Schertz family dental ribbon cutting. I went to the SCU at UCID State of the District. I also went with to the Willow Grove decorating competition. I rode with Mr. Gutierrez. I went to the Alamo Dental Clinic ribbon cutting, and I also did the holiday parade, and I was in Mr. Gutierrez's car with him, and it was an awesome thing. And I appreciate the Sam and Mary and the sweethearts. They offered me to ride on the float, but I told them I was not dressed for that, so I rode in the car.
Very good. Mr. Brown?
I did attend the Texas Tri-County Chambers Christmas lunch, had a good time, lots of people out there, so city is well known.
Good stuff. I had a chance to attend this morning's Bexar County legislative update. Had a number of state representatives there from both sides of the aisle, as well as county representatives from the courts, from the tax office, from the elections office, from commissioner's court and the like, as well as a number of mayors from the suburban cities around Bexar County. And it was a great presentation, and while the thrust of what was discussed is not unlike what we talked about as cities and counties and other political subdivisions in the last legislative session, there was a lot of unity, and frankly, there were a number of issues that came up that I think could truly benefit every Texan that appeared to have bipartisan support in the room. Something that we do better than they do in Washington. That said, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a most prosperous New Year, Happy Holidays on behalf of the staff and the rest of the council and my family, to anyone who's here or maybe watching the same. And if there's nothing else from staff or from council, we stand adjourned.